Hello and welcome to The Appointment. I am Pranjal Sharma. Joining me today for a conversation is TV Mohandas Pai. He is the chairman of Manipal Global. Mohan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You wear several hats. You've been a technology leader, but today I'd like to discuss some of the issues in the education sector, which you are pretty passionate about. At Manipal, let me begin with the organization that you head and which has also been synonymous with excellence for many decades. Tell us about the changes that are happening there. How is Manipal evolving for a new generation of young students who are joining the mainstream?
See, Manipal has a university in Manipal, in the Panchayat of Manipal, which is about more than 60 years old. It's a medical school and engineering school and now some social sciences. Then there's a university in Sikkim, which started about 15 years ago. And there's a new university which has come up in Jaipur, which is just about 4 years. The entire system runs as independent universities linked at certain levels. And I think they're doing very well. In medicine, Manipal in the private sector is clearly number one. In engineering, they're among the top 50. And they started engineering way back in 1956-57. So I think it goes back a long way before the next IIT systems came. And, in fact, Satya Nadella is from MIT, our Manipal Institute of Technology. So Satya is there and many of the eminent people are there. Then Manipal Global is a corporation set up to run universities outside India. We have a university in Kuala Lumpur called Manipal International University, which is on technology. We have a medical school, the Manipal Malacca Medical School in Malacca, Malaysia. And about 20% of all doctors in Malaysia have been educated in Manipal. And then we have a medical university in Nepal. We have a university in Dubai, which is engineering and social and other areas. And then we have a medical university in Antigua, which produces 500 doctors for the US market. These are all Americans, mostly white.
This is a very fantastic example, or perhaps one of the few examples of Indian education service providers going global.
Absolutely, because Manipal has always been global. 15-20% students of Manipal for many years came from outside India till the government started putting restrictions. So we were invited by the Malaysian government to set up shop there. The Nepalese government had us to set up shop. Many other governments are, but we are not ventured out. So we are probably the largest global education group in India, and I think it's fantastic. The quality is very good. There's great excess demand. Within India, we have an online education for Sikkim Manipal.
How has it evolved? How has the group and its education, the institutions that it has?
Started by Dr. TMA Pai, who started the medical college. He used to take what is called capitation fee. That is, ask the parents to pay in advance.
Which was such a terrible phrase those days.
No, people didn't understand what it meant because the first private medical college and medical education is expensive. So people have to pay money and they're all accounted for, they're all spent on infrastructure. If you go to Manipal, it's possibly in the top 5 best universities in terms of infrastructure and capability and the best private sector university in medicine. So you've got to see what happens. And I think he's done very well. Maybe 50,000 doctors have gone from there over the last 60 years. And I think it's truly extraordinary. And then based upon that, when Dr. Ramdas Pai took over, maybe 25 years ago, he globalized. He went to Sikkim and he went to Malacca, and then his son came in, and Ranjan is, understands the world. So he's expanded in Jaipur, he's expanded in Malaysia, he's expanded in Antigua.
But in terms of the kind of, there is a lot of focus on ed tech or education technology, and there are a lot of new formats which are emerging. So what is Manipal's view on that?
In terms of online education, Manipal is a leader in the private sector. At one point of time, we had 250,000 people getting online education and getting a degree from Sikkim Manipal University. We had a fantastic technology. It still is there, except government has now restricted and said online cannot be beyond the borders of Sikkim. It's a very unbelievable statement from the government. So there's a issue, and they're still going round and round. So, and globally too, we have a lot of people taking that online education. We have an online university in Malaysia, and we have done that. So in terms of MOOCs, if you take online, we are very large. Then in terms of classroom work, we already have the flipped classroom work in India. And I think that's working very well in the universities. We have the largest lab for medical education within India, where we have artificial bodies which react based upon what you do. And we have one of the largest chairs in dentistry. So the equipment, everything else is the latest state-of-the-art technology to teach medicine.
Where the kind of delivery of education in India is always still rooted into the British era. Critical thinking, focus on experience, experimenting. Is that something
the regulatory nightmare in medicine is unbelievable. Our syllabus is antiquated in India. You cannot innovate, you cannot do something. And when you work at Antigua and Malaysia, the syllabus is far ahead of what is required. Many of the things that you do in India is not required. The teacher-student ratio is very high. It increases the cost of education. And the infrastructure required in terms of some silly hall or others is too much. I mean, the regulatory cholesterol in this country is enormous, and that is stifling innovation. All the nice things you want in this country, we can't do because we have no freedom. Everything is dictated to the rule. And even in technical education now it's coming down, but it's been dictated by the rule. And there is harassment at various levels because people come for inspection, and inspection doesn't go well because of various other reasons. Some bad people get away with inspection and they pass it, and good people who follow the rule get harassed in this country. So this is the problem.
This is a very important issue. I'll come to that in a bit. But tell me also, does Manipal Global look at skilling as a concept?
Manipal Global has got a joint venture, City and Guilds of London.
Right.
And we do skilling and we do certification. Right. We got a loss of 25 crores because skilling doesn't work for one important reason. The skilled employee as a fresher doesn't get more salary than a person picked up on the streets. If the employee is not willing to pay, who is going to bear the cost of skilling? And the cost of skilling a good person is quite high. For 3-4 months, it costs you 20,000-25,000 rupees. Nobody is willing to pay. So I think there's a structure there. But I think more than that, what Manipal has done in terms of banking, for example, we train about 7,000 bankers a year. 30-40% of all banking officers in this country have been trained for us. And these people go to the banks and they're ready to work. They're very productive right from the beginning. And they created a community over the last 5-6 years, and they're highly valued by all of the banks. Any new bank comes, they want to get an alumnus of this particular institution, and I think is the largest one. And then we have an assessment business called Meritrack, which does a lot of assessment, 5.5-6 million assessments all over the country. So we have structured all this to provide services in the education area, but we prefer working outside India much more.
You say that the environment in India for education and innovation is very stifling. You were also the head of the education committee at FICCI, and I know you try to make a lot of change for the industry and its interaction with the government. What needs to be done to open up and make it, allow education to breathe?
Pranjal, in May of 1991, a gentleman stood up in Parliament and liberated us economically from the stifling controls of the Nehruvian era. We have not had such a moment in education. And let me give an inkling of the size of the Indian education system. 850 plus universities, 47,000 colleges, 3.1 crore students. A gross enrollment rate of 23% at this point of time. And we estimate in our FICCI Higher Education Vision Report 2030, by 2030 it will go up to 7 crore people and 50% gross enrollment rate in the age group of 18 to 23. And there's disparity between the various regions. The whole of the south has a GER of 30%. Tamil Nadu has 44%. 44% of young people in the age group of 18 to 23 go to college. And West Bengal has something like 15%. Rajasthan has maybe 19-20%. Gujarat has 19%.
But the education they're getting is perhaps not relevant.
No, I will explain to you. So we have this huge education infrastructure, and we have regulators like a UGC which sits in Delhi. A few people believe they have the wisdom to determine what is required. And then we have AICT for technical education. And when they have good heads, it's work. When they don't have good heads, it becomes control. Then you have MHRD laying policy. And all are diverse from what is happening in the ground.
And they still think in 1960s.
And they're still thinking in 1960s, 1970s control. For example, the Indian Institute of Science had a 4-year degree program. UGC sent a notice to say, why should you have a 4-year degree program? Have you asked us? Now, Indian science is 100 years old. After 100 years of deliberation, they had a BTech program. 100 years of deliberation. On top of that, they were asked questions. University of Delhi had a 4-year program, and they started off and finished 1 year. And the government said that the visitor has not approved. The papers for the visitor has to go from the government. If government has already signed off and told them we'll get the paperwork, then they started, and it created all this hula bullo. That means universities don't have autonomy in our country. And to give some data, 65% of education is done by the private sector, 3% by the union government through 130 universities, and the balance by the state government.
But even those private universities have to work under the regulatory framework, which does not allow them to innovate.
They do not allow them to innovate because the academic freedom to set your own courses, have a mix of courses not there. Can they give any courses with particular credits and have a mix and match like the United States? No. They have to follow a rigid idea. They have to give a degree as per the nomenclature in the UGC Act. Otherwise, UGC will not recognize.
But some of the state governments are allowing these 4-year courses, so there is some level of flexibility.
The state governments are allowing that, but the special law that the UGC Act under which UGC takes shelter, we will send them a notice and stop it. So they are stifling innovation, there's too much of control. See, if you want a good education system, first our universities should be liberated from UGC and AICT. They must have norms and leave it to the universities to the academic council to set the degree and everything else. And then the market will tell who is giving a good degree, who is giving a bad degree. Now, if you get a degree from certain states, nobody is going to employ you. Is already working there. Out of 4,500 engineering colleges, 200 die every year because they're surplus and they're all dying for bad quality. What AICT could not do in the past in shutting down bad quality is happening because there is surplus capacity. And in the medical college, there is less capacity. There are only 50,000 seats where there's a requirement of 75, 90,000. So there is a monopoly of control. So unless that's broken, universities should have full autonomy, administrative autonomy, they should have financial autonomy, and they should have academic autonomy.
What kind of conversations have you had as a representative of the FICCI Committee on Education?
We have gone and met
with the government.
The secretaries are open, but nothing happens. We have met with the 4 ministers, with the three ministers in the last 3-4 years. And ministers have been good, they hear, but some ministers don't want to hear. They don't want to talk to you. They want to shut you out, and they tell you, we don't need the private sector. One minister told a committee, consists of many vice chancellors, we know everything, whatever you tell us, we're already doing, we don't need you, we don't want the private sector. Now, the MHRD minister of this country cannot speak to academics and vice chancellor in this manner. You have to treat people with respect. You have to learn to listen. The minister is not born with great wisdom. You have to listen to everybody. It's a large, complex system. This is the largest education system in the world, and you can't run it from one single place. It has to be left open. The university should have full autonomy. The state universities don't have financial autonomy because they get grants from the government, C&AG. Suppose like the IITs, you charge full fees and the government gives scholarship to students, which you recommended, then it could happen. So, and in terms of academic autonomy, you can have broad guidelines and tell the academic council to take these broad guidelines and imbibe and innovate and let the colleges do what they want. In the best system in the world in the United States, is the professors who design courses, professors who grade, and professors give the degree. And the degree, because given by the university, is recognized. Now here, if you have a degree with the nomenclature UC has, you have to do it. And all they say is, oh, there are bad people. Private sector is bad. They manipulate, they do everything. And the state sector, barring the central universities, 40-50% is totally rotten. And we've seen many misuse happening. So here we created a structure where good people can't do well because they're all stifled, and the bad people do what they want, and the government cannot do anything with them because there's regulatory capture. So I think we have to let these universities open, let them free, fund the students, not the universities, and ask them to have the best in class people. And in some states in this country, the vice chancellors, I'll tell you honestly, I know personally, are appointed on paying money to whoever has to appoint them. Very clear. I've seen it with my eyes. I know people who have done that, and I can give you names. I don't want to give names. It happens. So what kind of education system are you creating our children? It pains us.